Welcome back, everyone. We just got a big ISC this morning going over the 4.1.1 patch. But most importantly, what we're going to go over today is the new ships for Invictus, so that being the Anvil Asgard, the GREYCAT MTC, and the Guardian MX, along with a little bit more of the Starlancer TAC, were all shown pretty extensively. So we're going to go through, we're going to look at all of the footage that we have of them from this, and break down what their capabilities are going to be, what's different about them, and go through everything that we can figure out based off of what we have. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. So for this, we're not going to watch the entire ISC episode because they talk a lot about the patch and the different missions and stuff coming with it, but we are going to skip around to some of the different parts where we can see the new ships. So let's go ahead and I believe, let me find it real quick. All right, so here is the first thing that I noticed that was new. So this, after I wasn't sure at first that this was just a ship that I'm not familiar with, but after watching through the entire episode, I realized this is the Guardian MX. This is the view inside the cockpit, so we can see it's pretty different in terms of its MFD layout, and there is some more struts that go along with the canopy. I think this is probably going to be similar to the Fury MX that has that blast shield that'll close over the canopies for all those missiles. Now I have not seen the missiles yet on the Guardian, but one thing we can notice, if we look on the edges of the wingtips, we have a gun on each of the wingtips instead of between the wing nacelles on the side of the cockpit, or on the main body of the ship. We have these 4 weapons here, and I'm guessing these are probably going to be either size 2 or size 3 weapons. If I had to guess, looking off of them really quick, I'd say they're probably size 3s. So it looks like we'll have 4 size 3 weapons on the Guardian MX, and then some sort of missile ordnance payload. Don't entirely know what that will include yet, but we do have these really nice looking MFDs, so it looks like its potential, there's a really big potential that these get updated maybe in other Mirai ships, to have this styling. I know that we had seen mentions of that in the monthly report. There was some more UI work going on for those sorts of things. So really cool to see that. So that's our first look at the Guardian MX from the cockpit side of things. Let's keep going. All right, so here we can see, you can see the little name right here. We have, it says Asgard. This is our first look at the Asgard in this ISC, and this is of the cockpit. Pretty similar looking to the Valkyrie. We can see sort of the self-status on the MFD there. It has a similar look to the Valkyrie, and in a moment here we'll see further. It's definitely, I guess I think you could consider it a Valkyrie variant, but I think it is it's fairly significantly modified off of the Valk chassis. So we'll see more in a moment here. Okay, so I'm going to back up a couple frames. So here is our first look at the Anvil Asgard. So we can see the front here is very similar to how the Valk looks. We can see right here on the top of the ship, this is probably what the sneak peek was from, I think it was last week, that it was a missile turret of some sort. It looks like that is on top of the Valkyrie here, or on the, I said Valkyrie, on top of the Asgard. So it looks like there's a missile turret. Potentially there are some other turrets maybe on the bottom or something like that. There might be, let's see if I go forward a few frames, if it lets me. Right here underneath the cockpit, there seems to be maybe a turret, maybe it's more pilot weapons, I'm not entirely sure. But going off of this, we can see we have the small doors on the sides that the Valkyrie has for, typically there's like a door gun there, personnel can hop off of here. But we can see as we go further back, this back section is, I think it seems like it's a decent amount longer than the Valkyries. We also have the big engines that are up on these winglets, so they're raised up like that. And then we'll see in some other shots, but there is, I think the opening for the ship overall is wider as well, and possibly taller too. So then if we let it fly past us here, we can see again this big door. Again, I'm pretty sure this is wider and taller than the current Valkyrie cargo bay door, or the vehicle bay. Now we also see right above that there are a couple of engines here as well, so we have some extra engines there. I don't think the Valkyrie has any there, or if not, these look a little different from if the Valkyrie has ones like that. So far it looks really cool. Now here we get a little bit of a closer look at the back half of it. We can see the different engine little areas here. Again, this big turret on top, which as far as I know is missiles. I don't see any guns anywhere there. But overall, I mean, this looks really, really solid so far. Here we have another view inside the cockpit. So again, pretty similar looking cockpit to the Valkyrie. Now, something to note here. So I believe this is another image in the Asgard. We can see here on the Power MFD, there is a couple of things that hint. So I do wonder what the component layout will be for this ship when it comes out. We can see that output for the power plant is 24, so it could be. I think it's probably most likely that this would have two size 2 power plants, although there is a slight chance it could have one size 3. We don't know yet on the shielding on it. I would expect, I wouldn't be surprised if they give it one size 3 shield, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it's like a bunch of size 2s again. I kind of hope they don't do that because that causes a really big problem for power management. And we can see in the lower right MFD that we have 4 Panther repeaters that we can see on the screen here. So there's at least 4 pilot weapons, 4 size 3s, potentially more. But yeah, so that's what I'm seeing here from some of the MFD layout. Now what's interesting is I'm pretty sure this shot here, again, is of the Asgard. And we can see there's 2 laser rounds coming here, 2 here, but it also looks like there's 2 coming from under the cockpit. So I wonder if it's possible that you actually have 6 pilot weapons. Maybe there's the only turret on this is that missile turret. I don't know, unless there is that turret. These guns from under the cockpit are another turret. I'm not entirely sure. So very, very interesting. Very interested to see what kind of firepower this thing ends up having. All right, so now here we have another image of another shot of the, I'm assuming this is the Guardian MX. Not much we can see right here. Again, I can tell it's the MX because I can see one of the guns. I can see a couple of them actually on the edges, the inner edge of some of these wings here. Again, this is supposed to be a missile variant, so I haven't seen any missiles yet. It's possible maybe it carries them. Maybe there's some internal racks in the wings here, but there's a shot of that. The other interesting thing I'm noticing is there's now a indication for batteries on some of these MSDs that I've seen in several of the different ships. So I do wonder potentially if this could be an alluding to maybe we'll be getting engineering sooner than I thought. And I also just noticed on the Guardian, this is the Guardian MX again, we have two separate shield categories, which is a little bit odd. So I don't know. I wonder if that means that the Guardian MX has 2 size 2 shields, but I'm also confused as to why they're displayed separately here. So kind of odd little thing there that I just noticed. I don't know. Maybe that's just a visual bug or something. All right, here, so now they're showing us some shots from the show floor where we will see a little bit more of the Asgard, the Guardian MX, and we'll get our first look at the GREYCAT MTC, which we'll look at in a moment. So here we can see the Asgard is up at that Anvil platform that I have mentioned in some other videos, so it's overhanging the platform a little bit. Again, it looks on the front, it's very Valkyrie reminiscent. Now, as I'm looking here, we can see these are 2 size 3 guns, I believe. There's 2 more up here. And then I think these look like size 4s, and I don't specifically see any turret housing. It's possible it could be a remote turret, but it's also, I think, partially likely that this could be pilot weapons as well. So the pilot may have the same amount of weapons that a F7A does, so 2 size 4 and 4 size 3s. Very, very possible. And then there's also that missile turret again on top of the ship. That's probably a remote turret. So very, very interesting. And if there's any other turrets, I haven't seen any yet, but it's possible maybe there is one more or something like that. All right, so here we have our first shot of the Invictus Hall where we have all of the ships on display. So we can see in the back here we have the Starlancer TAC. That is the main big ship for this year's Invictus. On the right here we have the Guardian MX. Again, it looks like it has the default paint looks like it's kind of black and white with some red accents. I'm still not seeing any visible missiles, which leads me to believe maybe they are carried inside the wings here then. Because if there was missile racks, they'd probably be bolted on all over the outside here. So very cool there. And then on the left here, we can see our first look at the GREYCAT MTC. They'll show another shot here in a moment because this is a little bit far away. So let's go ahead and jump to that and talk about it a little bit. Now, something else that I want to note really quick here. They do have flight blades on display. There's different colored ones, which may indicate different uses for them. And there's the signage here that says, discover a new way to fight. Now, again, we have not seen the flight blades in the PTU at all yet. I had mentioned in yesterday's video that in the latest PTU patch notes, they no longer had a redacted section for the not ready for testings. And I think a lot of people had assumed that redacted section was the flight blades, but then it disappeared. So I think I was like, oh, maybe they're not going to be in here then. But it's based on this, it still seems like they will be. So I don't know, maybe in the next couple patches, they'll throw them in and we'll see what happens with it. But very interested to see what ends up happening with these and how they affect how we fight, as they're putting it. All right, so then here is our first look at the GREYCAT MTC up close. So they do have two of them on the platform here. I don't think it's because there's two variants. I think it's just because to fill out the space of that platform a little better. So a couple of things I'm noticing. So this seems, I'm not 100% sure on the sizing of this. I think it might be, it's possible it'll be in between the size of like a Cyclone and an Ursa. I don't think this is quite as small as a Cyclone, so it probably won't be able to fit in ships like the Zeus or the C1 Spirit, or like the Cutlass. It's probably still going to need to be put in a ship that can carry an Ursa. So we can see it looks like there is a door on the left side here that'll open up. That is pretty similar to how the Ursa is. We can see this is probably a back door that will open up as well, I would think. On the left one here, which is just showing it from a different angle, it looks like the cabin here, there's probably just room for one person to sit here and drive it. If you look in the window up here, we can see at least one, what looks to be a gun rack. Again, we don't even know entirely what this thing's going to do, but we do see a gun rack there. We see there is a small turret up top, probably with some size 1 or size 2s. But it looks very rugged. It looks really nice. It looks like it has a kind of a digital camo paint job as the default paint. So really, really cool looking. But beyond that, still not entirely sure what the role is. We'll have to see. I think it's something combat related, but beyond that, I don't know specifically. But it looks really cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing more about it, learning what it's supposed to do, and what all these ships are supposed to do. Now here's a couple other interesting things. So up on, now they're talking about the Idris store, but up on that platform before you go on the Idris, there's several displays for different things. Right here, we could see that there's another signage. There's some more signage that says, discover a new way to fight. But here we have what looks like some PDCs, but these look like they are rocket or like missile PDCs. And potentially behind that, maybe it's like a ballistic PDC or something. So but maybe we'll be getting some more options for the PDC weapons we can equip. So I don't know, I feel like if it only carries, that would be like 16 missiles, it probably might be worth it anyways to carry more of just have the normal ones that have the laser repeaters. I don't know, maybe there's some other advantages though that we just don't know about for that yet, but very interested in what those end up being. Here we can see they're also displaying, I believe this is the Idris P's missile turret. So we can see here big old missile racks. These are probably size 3 missiles, maybe size 4. Up at the top it has some signage that says the might of the military in your hangar. Is that an allusion to the Idris coming in Invictus? Probably not. You never know, but I think it's still pretty unlikely. And another thing right here, we have unleash your ship's potential, and these are size 12 torpedoes. These things are absolutely gigantic. Again, the only ship that we know of that's able to carry these at the moment is the Javelin. But these things look like they mean serious business. And I think these are, some different variants. So there's probably a infrared, EM, cross-section, and so on. They're kind of color-coded differently, but they look really, really cool. But that is about all that I found in this ISC video, again, talking about all the new ships, the new things that we're seeing at the Invictus halls. So really, really exciting. If you enjoyed the video breaking this down, make sure to leave it a like, and make sure to let me know your thoughts on all these down in the comments. Do you think you're going to be picking up these new ships? What other things did you see that maybe I missed? Make sure to let me know, and make sure to be watching out for another video later today going over the latest PTU patch that we should be getting. Maybe we'll get some exciting new stuff in that. But that's going to do it for this one, and until next time, I'll see you in the verse.